I know by now we've all at least heard about the Bud Light boycott that has unraveled over the last month now. Bud Light has made the decision to have a transgender model in one of their ad campaigns, and whether or not you agree with this or disagree with this decision, or maybe you don't really care, regardless, this led to a boycott from people who disagreed with this decision. Now, Target is a company who is also not exactly a stranger to being boycotted. In 2016, Target was boycotted because they had came out and said that all transgender customers at their store can use the bathroom of their own choosing. So if you were a transgender man, for example, you could use the men's restroom. This had led to some backlash and a boycott at the time. Well, now it's 7 years later and Target is getting boycotted again, and people are comparing it to the Bud Light boycott because it has a lot of similarities. So what is going on with Target? Why is this hashtag boycott Target trending? Well, it mainly has to do with some new clothing they have released. So in case you didn't know, Target has basically their own line of clothing. Believe it or not, it's pretty cheap. It's not a bad price. It's like the generic version of food, okay? Like, you know how when you go to the store and there's that big box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and then right next to it is a box of cinnamon squares, okay? That's basically what, Target brand clothing is. And I'm not putting it down by any means. Hey, I have bought clothes from Target. I've bought clothes from Walmart before. I've got no shame, okay? It's cheap and it passes, okay? It's good clothes. So the boycott, like I said, it is about a new line of clothing that Target has came out with recently that they've been selling at their stores that is very LGBT friendly. So like one that is talked about a lot, one that's kind of the center focus of all of this is that they now have tuck friendly swimwear. So this is for males who are transgender women who I think you get where I'm going with this. They would want to tuck a certain body part, so it's basically for that. And people are saying that this is really gross, especially since it was marketed for kids. They're saying that, they were in kid sizes. But it looks like one of their spokespeople came out and said that this is only in adult sizes. It's not marketed for kids. So I don't know if it was necessarily ever for kids. But something else that people are outraged about is some of their shirts. And so I do think that these are marketed for kids in kid sizes. So some of their shirts have interesting words or sayings on them. One shirt that people are mad about says, "Trans people will always exist." Another says, "Girls, gays, theys." I don't know. I just remember when I was a kid, the edgy shirts at the time were at Walmart and Target, and they just had the most lame, cringy jokes on them. A lot of stuff's changed, that's for sure. Target also has rainbow flag onesies that a lot of people are mad about. Now, I'm not sure if this is onesies for babies and toddlers, or if this is one of those ironic adult onesies. But regardless, that plus the shirts and the swimwear, people are pretty mad. Now, the last thing here is one of Target's designers, one of their clothes designers named Eric Carnell, is being accused of being a Satanist and pushing his beliefs on the clothing that he has designed for Target. So this dude, I looked up his Instagram and I believe he is an open Satanist. And whether or not you think that's a bad thing or you really don't care, yeah, he's a designer for Target and he has some clothes that are Satan themed, I guess. So apparently a small portion of the clothing that he has designed has included references to Satan. One shirt says Satan respects pronouns, but he says this was meant to be more of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. And now, to be fair, this is a big thing. So a lot of people are saying that he was selling these at Target, but it looks like, at least from what I can find, that none of the the Satan stuff is being sold at Target. I believe that is just being sold on his website. Regardless, again, people don't really like this, that there is an open Satanist who has made a lot of these clothes that are basically celebrating Satan, that they basically don't like that Target is affiliated with that. So as a result of all of this, so the tuck-friendly swimsuits, the LGBT messages on their shirts, having a Satanist design their clothes. As a result of all of this, people have started to now boycott Target. They've started that hashtag, and it's gained a lot of momentum over the past week or two. Now, the only other kind of development in the story that we need to talk about is that today, Target has announced that they will be pulling some of their LGBT clothes and merchandise from their store due to receiving threats, specifically threats that were apparently made to some of their workers. So a spokeswoman said, quote, Given these volatile circumstances, we are making adjustments to our plans, including removing items that have been at the center of the most significant confrontational behavior. Now, I want to bring Bud Light back into the conversation because I think it's relevant as far as why Target is making the decision to pull some of their items. So back to the Bud Light thing. So when the transgender model Dylan was featured in some of their ads, like I said, this led to a big boycott, and this was mostly from kind of conservatives or Republicans or kind of people that are more like on the right side of politics versus the left. Well, Bud Light's response to this boycott was to sort of reverse course and quickly remove the Dylan, the trans model from like their cans and their advertisements. Well, funny enough, kind of ironically enough, this then led to another boycott from the other side of the argument, so mostly like people on the left. So they did not like that Bud Light was backing down and not, I guess, standing up for them. And so while now you have liberals who are boycotting Bud Light, conservatives are still boycotting it. They still don't want to go with Bud Light. So now Bud Light has both sides that are boycotting them, and as a result, their sales have plummeted, their reputation has been smeared, they've even had to let some workers go, I believe. So bringing this back to the Target boycott, I think if I had to guess, this is why Target is removing some of these LGBT merchandise from their store, and I think that is a smart PR move. So they say that their workers are receiving threats, and I'm not saying that's not true. In fact, it probably is true, unfortunately. We live in a big world with crazy people on both sides. But in all reality, I don't think this would ever be enough of a reason by itself to remove a bunch of merchandise at every Target store in the entire country. So the reason I think they are doing this, and this is just fully my opinion, just my take on it, is that this gives them a legitimate reason to get rid of the merchandise that is causing the boycott, which will not in turn anger the people who are in support of this merchandise. Because claiming you are removing the merchandise over threats allows Target to still support the Pride community while having less conservatives boycott you. So that in the end, Target can avoid being like, Bud Lighted and having both sides boycott them. So now you'll have less people boycotting you that are against the Pride merchandise, and you probably won't have really anyone boycotting you who supports the Pride merchandise. It's a clever PR spin. At the end of the day, and I hope this isn't like too pessimistic of a viewpoint, but I'm a firm believer of this. At the end of the day, companies, businesses, they don't care about social activism. Like, let's just be real. Sure, you have individuals within companies who personally care about social activism. I don't doubt that. But companies as a whole do not care about any of this. They just want people to think they do to get more money. Bud Light, for example, does not care about supporting trans people. Let's just be real. And at the other end of that, so, when they reversed course and they said, hey, we weren't trying to make people upset, we're sorry. They don't care about any of that either. They wanted people to be upset. They just predicted that more people would be in support of them, which would lead to more money. And Target is the same. Target as a whole, they don't care about Pride. They just want your money at the end of the day. And that doesn't make them bad. At the end of the day, they are a business. That's what they do. And if you don't believe me, take it from the words of Target CEO Brian Cornell himself. So he was actually just on a podcast last week and talked about embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's saying that embracing these three things has fueled Target's growth over the last 9 years, and that this ultimately benefited their shareholders. He said, quote, "The things we've done from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint, it's adding value, it's helping us drive sales, and it's building greater engagement with both our teams and our guests. And those are just the right things for our business today." And so look, I'm not saying that this makes this guy, a heartless guy, a stereotypical cartoon fat cat character with, the big suit and tie, and, he's got the big cigar and he doesn't care about anybody. He's just a big, rich, business guy. Like, I'm not saying that. At the end of the day, this guy is a businessman. His goal is to make money, and he's doing that. So no matter what side of the argument you're on, it's just important to understand that these businesses, like I said, they don't care about social equality or inclusion. I mean, they'll say they do, and on an individual level, some of their workers might. But as a whole, these companies couldn't care less about these things. They don't care about what gender you identify as. They don't care about you feeling confident in your own body. All they want to do is get more money. They're only going to make moves that they think will boost their sales. And like I said, it doesn't make them bad. That's just them being a business. The way Bud Light handled everything has ironically destroyed their sales department over the last month. But Target's recent move might have saved it, or at least in the long run, saved it from being attacked by both sides.